Hello, campers, and welcome to the Mercy Academy virtual math camp. This is your Puzzle 1 walkthrough for the Algebra Readiness Treasure Hunt. First off, my name is Matt Schaub, and I am a third-year teacher at Mercy Academy. Welcome. Thank you so much for trying out this new experience with us. We here at the Mercy Math Department had a really successful, and actually the whole school really had a really successful online school engagement in the end of the year, and we just thought since we couldn't get together to do this math camp, we'd try something new, and so I hope you really enjoy it. I promise I won't. All my students know I can go on talking forever, but I promise I'll keep these short. But I certainly wanted to introduce myself. Thank you all for doing this with us, and thank you for just kind of getting your mind moving in the right direction as we get ready to go back to school. I'm not sure when we'll be able to see each other in school, but I am a freshman math teacher, so some of you that are listening to this right now, you may be meeting me in a couple months whenever we're allowed to safely go back to school. So it's really exciting. So basically, these walkthroughs, what we're going to do is we're going to do the first couple problems with you, and we're going to work them out and kind of explain some of the important topics that you need. But after the first couple, we'll just kind of give you the answers, do a quick talk through of what the process was. And you may have noticed it gets a little more challenging as you go. So this first puzzle, we're going to start with adding and subtracting integers. Okay, now this may seem simple, but trust me, I'm a 36-year-old guy. I still make mistakes with this all the time. It just takes a lot of practice. I mean, I do this in my sleep, and it's still really easy to make mistakes. And this is a really important building block that you have to have if you're going to learn how to solve equations and stuff like that when we get into Algebra 1. So here we go with number 1. So we're looking at an addition problem. I got my laser pointer, a super cool lightsaber laser pointer, not like a regular laser pointer. So I'm a really cool guy, right? Okay, so we got two numbers being added together. Now, when you have an addition problem, really all we ever want to do is add numbers together. So we'll talk about a subtraction problem next, but we always want to be adding numbers together, and we just have to know what sign those numbers are. There are two rules that we got to remember. If the two numbers that you're adding are the same sign, you just add the numbers, and by numbers I mean ignore the signs for a second, just add the numbers as you normally would with positive numbers, and then you keep whatever sign they both had to begin with. So if they were both positive, we would add them, keep the positive sign, so it would be a positive result. If both numbers are negative, we add them and keep the negative sign, so the result would be a negative number there. Okay? In this case, we have a 5 and a negative 8, so they're different signs. This is the rule for when they have different signs. We subtract the numbers, and again, we're forgetting about the signs for a second. We're just looking at the 8 and the 5. We're going to subtract those, and we're going to keep the sign of the larger value. Now that value means absolute value, so we ignore the signs, and if we just look at the 8 and the 8 has a larger value than the 5 if we drop the signs. I know that negative 8 is a smaller number than positive 5, but we're going to ignore that. We're going to focus on their absolute values or their positive values. Okay, so what this is telling us, since we have to use this method, we're going to take a negative 8 and a positive 5. We're going to subtract them. So 8 minus 5 gives me 3. All right, and then I got to double check. I got to keep the sign of the larger value. So 8 is bigger than 5, and 8 had a negative sign. So that means our answer is negative 3. And that's it, okay? If you can remember those two rules, then you can add any two numbers together. It's so simple, but it's so tricky, like I said before. So let's finish this problem here, and then we'll move on to number 2, and we'll talk about what to do when you got a subtraction problem. So we can see if the answer is negative 3, and ours is, negative 3, then move down 2 spaces. So the very first thing I'm going to do on that treasure map that you have on page 2 of your packet is you're going to go from the start box and you're going to move down 2 spaces. And it is a good idea to record everything you do on those lines right there. That way, I think instead of going back and forth between the treasure map and the worksheet every single time you do a problem, I think you should do the whole worksheet, then try out the moves and see which ones don't work. And then you can, if you have any problems, you can fix them. But you know, if you want to go back and forth, you totally can. All right, so let's move on to number 2. We're talking about subtraction now. We got, where's my lightsaber here? It comes with sound effects. All right, so we got a subtraction problem here, and you can see we have a negative number here and a negative number here. So a lot of negative signs. I can't tell you how many times my students just freeze up when they see all these negative signs, but we can make it a lot simpler. Okay, so when you subtract something, you're really taking it away instead of adding it. So subtraction is the opposite of addition, right? So if we take two opposites, they should cancel each other out. So what we do is we are going to, some of you know it and may have heard it as keep, change, change. Some of you know it as add the opposite, but we're going to turn every subtraction problem into an addition problem by adding the opposite of the second number. Okay, so what that really means here, we've got our expression here. Keep, change, change means you're going to keep the first number the same. You're going to, zoom in here, you're going to change the sign from subtraction to addition, and then you're going to change the sign of the second number. So the first number stays the same, second number changes. Adding the opposite really just means the same thing. You take the opposite of that -6, which is a +6, and you add it instead of subtracting. So it's like we're flipping it, subtraction to addition, but we're flipping the second number from negative to positive. So those two changes offset each other, and we have the same problem we had before, okay? So the reason we want to do this is because if we only ever add two numbers together and we never have to worry about subtraction, then we only have two rules to remember, right? So we have the rule about what to do with subtraction, but then we just have the same sign, different signs rules, and then we can add these numbers. So let's follow these rules. We got -4 plus +6. They have different signs again, so we're going to subtract the numbers. All right, so 6 minus 4 is 2. And we're going to keep the sign of the larger value. And in this time, the 6 has a larger value than a 4, and that 6 is positive, so our answer is going to be +2. All right, so -4 minus -6 gives us an answer of +2. All right, and then here we go. Okay, so that's what our next move is on the treasure map. And let's write it down just so we have all of these in one place and it's not hard to find. Okay. So like I said, with the rest of these, I'm just going to give you the answers and kind of talk through it real quick. And hopefully that's all you need. So let me do my magic here. And poof. All right, that's how fast a math teacher does his homework. All right, so we got number 3 here. All right, so we have an addition problem. We don't need to change it. We're just going to add -13 and 2. Since they're different signs, we subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number, which was -13. So 13 minus 2 is 11. Keep the negative sign, and that tells us to move up 1 space on the treasure map. Okay, number 4, same signs. These are the easiest ones. You just add the numbers and keep the sign. So 9 plus 7 is 16. They're both negative, so obviously it's, you know, think of it like apples or oranges. If you have 9 apples and 7 apples, you're going to have 16 apples, okay? If you have 9 negatives and you have 7 negatives, you're going to end up with 16 negatives. It's as simple as that. Number 5, we got same sign. Now, this doesn't look like it, but we're going to rewrite this, and I can actually do that here. We're going to rewrite this as -6 plus the opposite of a +5 is a -5, okay? And then we can see that they both have negative signs. They're both negative numbers, so we add them and keep the negative sign. So we get -11 once again for number 5. And of course, I'm hoping you can do this part of it by now over here. But once you find your answer, you just have to make sure you write the correct thing on the line. And sometimes that's where we make mistakes. Just make sure you're staying sharp on that. Let's go to the next one. Number 6. -17 plus 12, we're adding, so they have different signs. We're going to subtract the numbers. That gives me 5, and we're going to keep the sign of the larger. 17 is larger than 12, and that's got a negative sign on it, so we get a -5 there. Number 7, 5 minus -2, we're going to change that to 5 plus +2. I love this. You can just throw your vertical lines in there, make them pluses, and then how easy is it to add 5 plus 2? So simple. So we're feeling good about that. All right, so it takes a confusing looking problem at first with subtraction and different signs, and it makes it, oh, it's 5 plus 2. No problem. All right. and you'll move down 2 spaces there. And then a very tricky one here at the end, number 8. A lot of negative signs here, but if we change this to addition and we change this to a positive 4, then we'll have negative 4 plus a positive 4. And you can see that those are opposites. So anytime we add opposites together, we get 0. If you don't believe me, then we subtract the numbers and keep the sign of the bigger number. Well, subtracting 4 minus 4 gives us 0, and there is no bigger number. So therefore, our answer cannot have a sign on it, whether it be positive or negative. And what's the only number that doesn't have a sign? That's right, it's 0. So your final move is to move right 1 space on the treasure map. Now, the next video you walk through will be with Miss Audrey Heeman. She's another math teacher at Mercy, and we've kind of split up the video making duties. So I haven't shown you anything about the treasure map yet. The 5th video I make, the very last one, will be after we've gone through all 4 puzzle worksheets, and you should have all the answers for your treasure map hunt, and then I'll go through and show you how to put all those steps together to get to the correct treasure map. Okay, so thank you for listening, and I hope this helped. And remember, you can email us on the first page of this packet is our email addresses. If you have additional questions or something's not working out for you, please email us, and we'd be happy to help you out anytime during the day. All right, thanks a lot, and I'll see you on puzzle number 3.